Somewhere in South America, there's a river so hot it can boil you alive in seconds. Beneath the world's largest rainforest, another river flows in total darkness, twice as wide as the Amazon itself, yet completely hidden from human eyes. And deep in the jungle, entire civilizations with pyramids and roads vanished without a trace, swallowed by the forest centuries ago. The Amazon isn't just a rainforest, it's a world unto itself, one that science is only beginning to understand. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll never look at this place the same way again. Let's start with the basics, because the sheer scale of what we're talking about is almost impossible to grasp. When most people hear Amazon, they picture trees. Lots of trees. But the Amazon rainforest isn't just big. It's incomprehensibly massive. We're talking about over 2.1 million square miles of unbroken wilderness stretching across 9 different countries: Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Brazil alone contains roughly 60% of this green ocean. To put that in perspective, you could fit most of Western Europe inside the Amazon and still have room to spare. Scientists estimate there are approximately 390 billion individual trees here, belonging to over 16,000 distinct species. And here's the wild part. Researchers believe millions of plant and animal species in the Amazon have never been documented, never been named, never been seen by human eyes. They exist in the shadows of this forest, completely unknown to science. This place produces roughly 20% of the oxygen we breathe every single day. It absorbs staggering amounts of carbon dioxide, acting as a planetary thermostat that helps regulate Earth's climate. When people call the Amazon the lungs of the Earth, they're not exaggerating. And then there's the river itself. The Amazon River stretches nearly 4,000 miles, making it one of the longest waterways on the planet. But length doesn't capture what makes it truly extraordinary. The volume of water this river dumps into the Atlantic Ocean is so immense that even hundreds of miles offshore, the seawater remains brackish and brown with Amazonian sediment. No other river on Earth moves this much water. This vast network of rivers, tributaries, and flooded forests is home to thousands of fish species, from the infamous piranha to the bizarre pink river dolphin. It's an ecosystem within an ecosystem, a liquid highway connecting every corner of this wilderness. The climate here? Brutal. The Amazon receives between 79 and 118 inches of rain annually, making it one of the wettest places on Earth. The air is thick with humidity, the heat is relentless, and the constant buzzing of insects never stops. It's an environment that pushes humans to their limits while simultaneously nurturing an explosion of biodiversity found nowhere else. And within this hostile paradise lurk creatures that seem like they belong in nightmares. Let's talk about the anaconda. Local tribes call them river monsters. Some revere them as guardian spirits of the forest. And when you learn what these snakes are capable of, you'll understand why. In the wild, green anacondas routinely reach lengths of 20 to 26 feet, weighing over 440 pounds of pure muscle. But the stories that keep hunters awake at night speak of individuals stretching beyond 33 feet, as thick as a coconut tree trunk, sliding silently through murky water. These accounts have never been scientifically verified, but they persist generation after generation. Unlike venomous snakes that rely on poison, anacondas are constrictors. They kill through sheer crushing force. Once an anaconda wraps its coils around prey, it tightens with every exhale of the victim. The pressure stops blood flow. The heart gives out. Death comes within minutes. Their diet includes caimans, wild boar, deer, large fish, and birds. An anaconda can swallow prey many times wider than its own head, then retreat into the water to digest for weeks. The question everyone asks, do anacondas attack humans? Official scientific records are thin, but local stories tell of people vanishing near riverbanks, leaving behind only long drag marks disappearing into the water. Science hasn't proven that anacondas eat humans, but the jungle keeps its secrets and the legends endure. Now, if a single massive predator doesn't unsettle you, consider something smaller, something that hunts in packs. Piranhas have earned a terrifying reputation. Hollywood films show them stripping a cow to bone in minutes. The reality is more nuanced, but no less impressive. These fish school together primarily for protection. Most of the time, they're relatively calm, but when food becomes scarce, when blood enters the water, when they feel threatened, something switches on. Their pack hunting instinct activates, and they become genuinely dangerous. A piranha's teeth are evolutionary masterpieces. Each triangular blade fits perfectly against the next, creating a cutting edge that slices through flesh and bone with surgical precision. The bite force of a black piranha can reach 30 times its body weight, among the strongest pound-for-pound bites in the entire animal kingdom. Of the 60-plus piranha species, most actually eat seeds, fruits, or carrion, but the handful of aggressive carnivorous species are enough to cement the piranha's fearsome reputation. They're not mindless killing machines, but their speed, their numbers, and their razor-sharp teeth make them predators you never want to encounter when they're hungry. Speaking of dangerous fish, let me tell you about something that can knock down a horse without ever touching it. The electric eel is essentially a living battery swimming through the Amazon's murky waters. Despite the name, they're not actually eels at all. They belong to the knifefish family. These creatures can grow up to 8 feet long and weigh over 44 pounds. But size isn't what makes them remarkable. Electric eels can generate discharges of up to 600 volts. That's enough to paralyze fish, frogs, and even large mammals. There are documented accounts of horses being knocked unconscious while drinking at the water's edge. How does this work? Their bodies contain thousands of specialized cells called electrocytes, which function like biological batteries. When triggered, these cells release energy simultaneously, creating a powerful shock that travels through the surrounding water. What's fascinating is that electric eels can control their output. They use low-level electrical pulses for navigation and sensing in dark water, like built-in sonar. When hunting or defending themselves, they can crank the voltage to lethal levels. The electric eel is living proof that evolution can produce solutions that seem almost impossible. Scientists still study these creatures, hoping to unlock secrets that could revolutionize battery technology. When darkness falls over the Amazon, a different kind of predator emerges: the vampire bat. Just the name conjures images of Dracula, of creatures that feed on blood in the night. And here's the thing: that's exactly what they do. Vampire bats are small, roughly the size of a human hand with a wingspan of about 8 inches. They weigh less than 2 ounces. But don't let the size fool you. These animals have evolved specialized tools for one purpose: drinking blood. Their front teeth are razor sharp, designed to make a small, precise incision in their victim's skin. Then, and this is where it gets interesting, they don't suck blood like in movies. Instead, they lap it up with their tongues. Their saliva contains a special enzyme that prevents blood from clotting, keeping the wound flowing throughout their meal. Their typical targets are livestock: cattle, horses, pigs, occasionally large birds. Under cover of darkness, vampire bats land silently, crawl on their short legs to find a good feeding spot, and begin their meal. They usually take only a small amount, about half an ounce, not enough to harm the animal. The real danger isn't blood loss, it's disease transmission, particularly rabies. A single infected bat can spread the virus through an entire herd. But even vampire bats have value. Scientists have discovered that the anticoagulant enzyme in their saliva has medical applications, particularly in developing blood-thinning medications for humans. Once again, the Amazon reminds us that even frightening creatures can hold unexpected gifts. The Amazon's mysteries aren't limited to animals. This forest is also home to human communities that have never, and I mean never, had contact with the modern world. They're called isolated tribes, the invisible people of the Amazon. Researchers estimate that over 100 such groups exist, most in Brazil and Peru. These communities range from a few dozen to a few hundred individuals, living exactly as their ancestors did thousands of years ago. They hunt with bows and arrows. They gather plants. They practice small-scale farming. For them, the forest provides everything: food, medicine, shelter, spiritual meaning. What makes these tribes remarkable is their deliberate avoidance of outsiders. When aircraft fly overhead, they flee into the jungle or shoot warning arrows at the sky. The rare encounters that have occurred show deep caution, and for good reason. Their ancestors experienced devastating epidemics brought by outsiders. Even a common cold could wipe out an entire community with no immunity. Because of this danger, South American governments have established strict laws prohibiting contact with isolated tribes. Researchers study them only from afar, using satellite imagery and aerial surveys. But the questions remain tantalizing. What ceremonies do they practice? What stories do they tell about the forest? What knowledge of the Amazon, passed down through generations of oral tradition, might they hold that science has never discovered? We may never know. And perhaps that's as it should be. Now let me tell you about something that sounds like science fiction, but is absolutely real. Beneath the Amazon River, deep underground, between 9,800 and 13,100 feet below the surface, flows another river, a hidden river. Scientists discovered it in 2011 and named it Hamza, after the geophysicist who led the research. Hamza stretches nearly 3,700 miles, roughly matching the Amazon above. But here's what's astonishing. In some places, it's between 120 and 250 miles wide. That's not a river. That's an underground ocean. Unlike the Amazon's rushing current, Hamza moves incredibly slowly, just a few yards per year, creeping through porous rock in total darkness. Scientists believe it may play a critical role in regulating groundwater and supporting the river systems above, but accessing something that deep is nearly impossible with current technology. All our data comes from seismic measurements and geophysical models. No human has ever entered Hamza. No camera has ever recorded its depths. This raises a question that scientists can't stop asking. Could life exist down there? The conditions seem hostile. No light, crushing pressure, extreme temperatures. But we've found life in equally harsh environments before. Around hydrothermal vents in the deep ocean, organisms thrive in conditions that would instantly kill most life forms. They survive on chemicals, not sunlight. They glow in the darkness. Some researchers speculate that Hamza could harbor extremophiles, microbes adapted to survive where nothing else can. Others let their imaginations run wilder, wondering if creatures could have evolved in that eternal darkness, never needing sunlight, bodies adapted to withstand immense pressure. There's no evidence yet. But the possibility drives scientists to develop deep drilling technologies. Someday, we might sample water from thousands of feet below the Amazon. What we find could reshape our understanding of life itself, and maybe even inform the search for life on other planets. Until then, Hamza remains one of Earth's great mysteries, a hidden world flowing beneath our feet, completely beyond our reach. If an underground river sounds dangerous, let me tell you about a river you absolutely never want to fall into. The locals call it Shanai Timpishka. It translates roughly to boiled with the heat of the sun. Today, most people know it simply as the boiling river. The water temperature reaches nearly 212 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to cook a living creature in seconds. For years, scientists dismissed stories of a boiling river in the Amazon as folklore. Then Peruvian researcher Andrés Russo decided to investigate. What he found was exactly what the legends described: a river shrouded in constant steam, with water hot enough to kill anything that fell in. He watched as leaves and small animals entering the water were boiled apart within moments. Here's what puzzles researchers. This river exists far from any volcano. Normally, boiling water in nature requires nearby volcanic activity or geothermal geysers. But Shanai Timpishka has no obvious heat source. The prevailing theory suggests underground geothermal systems heat the water before it rises to the surface, but maintaining several miles of river at near boiling temperatures would require enormous energy. The source remains unknown. Local tribes view the boiling river as sacred, a place where the forest spirit demonstrates its power. They believe anyone who disrespects it will die. Some traditions treat the river as a test of courage. Only those blessed by forest spirits can approach without harm. The oral legends speak of fire serpents and guardian creatures inhabiting these waters. Just stories, probably. But they add another layer of mystery to an already inexplicable place. Scientists have found something valuable here: microbes capable of surviving at extraordinary temperatures. Studying these organisms could unlock insights into how life adapts to extreme conditions, knowledge that might someday help us identify life on other worlds. But for humans, Shanai Timpishka remains what it has always been: a death trap wrapped in steam and legend. For centuries, Western scientists assumed the Amazon was pristine wilderness, too hostile for large human populations to ever thrive. The jungle was simply too dense, too wet, too dangerous. They were wrong. Hidden beneath the canopy, archaeologists have discovered evidence of ancient civilizations that once flourished here. We're talking about cities, roads, plazas, and stepped pyramids, all swallowed by the forest over centuries. The breakthrough came with LiDAR technology, which uses laser scanning from aircraft to penetrate the jungle canopy and map what lies beneath. What researchers found changed everything we thought we knew about the Amazon. In Bolivia, they discovered the Casarabe culture, massive earthworks comparable to ancient cities in Central America. These weren't scattered tribal settlements. These were organized societies with sophisticated irrigation systems designed to manage floods and droughts. Roads stretched for dozens of miles, connecting communities across the forest. The evidence suggests these civilizations existed between 500 and 1,500 years ago. Thousands of people lived in the Amazon, building complex societies that we're only now beginning to understand. But the greatest mystery remains: why did they vanish? Some theories point to climate change and shifting river patterns that made their agricultural systems unsustainable. Others suggest disease, perhaps epidemics introduced by early European contact that devastated populations with no immunity. Warfare, resource depletion, or some combination of factors might explain the collapse. We simply don't know. The forest swallowed these civilizations so completely that for centuries we didn't even believe they existed. What other secrets lie beneath the canopy? What cities remain undiscovered? The Amazon keeps its history buried deep. The Amazon doesn't just contain mysteries, it actively shapes the planet's climate in ways that scientists are only beginning to understand. This forest functions as a massive natural climate machine. Through a process called evapotranspiration, billions of trees release moisture into the atmosphere. This moisture rises, condenses, and falls again as rain. The Amazon literally creates its own weather, feeding itself in a continuous cycle. But this system is fragile. As deforestation accelerates, scientists worry we're approaching a tipping point. If enough trees disappear, the rainfall cycle could collapse. The Amazon could transform from rainforest to savanna. The consequences would ripple across the entire planet. There's another phenomenon here that surprises people: natural acid rain. We typically associate acid rain with industrial pollution, factory emissions mixing with rainfall to create corrosive precipitation. But the Amazon experiences something similar from purely natural sources. Forest fires, decomposing organic matter, and distant volcanic activity release sulfur dioxide and nitrogen compounds into the atmosphere. When tropical rains absorb these gases, the result is mildly acidic precipitation. This natural acid rain affects soil chemistry, river ecosystems, and plant growth. Some studies suggest it's already impacting how quickly trees grow and how effectively the forest absorbs carbon dioxide. The Amazon faces other climate challenges. Dry seasons are growing longer. Severe droughts drain rivers and threaten countless species. Then violent floods reshape landscapes within days. The forest endures these extremes, but climate change is pushing the system toward its limits. If the Amazon's climate machine fails, the consequences extend far beyond South America. Global weather patterns would shift, carbon absorption would plummet, the lungs of the earth would stop breathing. From hidden underground rivers to creatures that kill with electricity, from boiling waters to cities lost in time, the Amazon reveals itself as far more than a forest. It's an entire universe of mysteries, most of which we haven't even discovered yet. Scientists estimate that millions of species here remain unknown to science. Ancient civilizations built monuments we're only now finding with laser technology. A river twice as wide as the Amazon flows in eternal darkness beneath our feet. And the more we explore, the more we realize how little we actually understand. The Amazon holds secrets that could reshape medicine, reveal new forms of life, and rewrite human history. But it's also disappearing. Every year, deforestation claims more of this irreplaceable wilderness. Species vanish before we even know they existed. Ancient sites are destroyed before archaeologists can study them. We're in a race against time. The Amazon's mysteries are vast, but our window to uncover them is shrinking. What awaits discovery in the depths of this forest? What creatures live in that dark underground river? What knowledge did those vanished civilizations possess? Some answers may come in our lifetime. Others may remain forever hidden in the green depths of the world's greatest wilderness. The Amazon keeps its secrets well, but for those willing to look, it offers glimpses of a world more strange and wonderful than we ever imagined.